She was just walking to meet a friend. No drama. No trouble. Then two men followed her under the bridge. Less than 30 minutes later, they found Jocelyn, face down in a creek. Half naked. Strangled. You're watching an unbelievable true story, where we only tell real stories. Not to scare you, but to prepare you. This happened in Houston, Texas, in June 2024. Jocelyn Nungaray was just 12 years old. Bright. Funny. Sweet to everyone. She told her mom she was going to see a friend. Normal night. She never came back. Two men, grown men, saw her alone at a store. They followed her, talked to her, lured her. Surveillance shows them walking under a bridge around 2:30 a.m. Less than an hour later, she was dead. And these monsters? They walked free for 2 more days before police caught them. 1 in 3 women will be attacked in their lifetime. Every 40 seconds, a child is abducted. And most abuse comes from someone the victim already knows. We linked a family safety course in the description and pinned comment. It teaches kids and parents what to do if something feels wrong, how to escape, speak up, and protect each other. Most danger comes from people kids already know. This course shows how to spot it and stop it. Now stay with me, because we're about to break down who these men were, how they got away, and what one little clue brought justice to Jocelyn's. Let's get into the full story. Her name was Jocelyn Nungaray. 12. Beautiful brown hair. Big, curious eyes. She had that kind of smile that made other kids feel safe. She loved animals. Loved TikTok dances. Liked writing her name in the corner of her homework. JN, in little bubble letters. She lived with her mama. And like a lot of kids her age, she was smart, but also brave in ways she didn't even know were dangerous. June 16, 2024. Houston, Texas. It was summer. Hot even at night. The air sticky. People were still outside after midnight, just trying to cool off. Jocelyn told her mama she was going to see a friend. She left the apartment around 9:30 p.m. That was the last time her mama saw her alive. She walked past a Family Dollar, a little store near her place. Security cameras picked her up at 1:45 a.m. You can see her walking. She looks like any kid trying to pass time. But then, 2 grown men walk up behind her. They're not boys. They're men in their 20s. One of them takes off his shirt. The other one starts talking to her. They follow her for 40 minutes. Through the street, past the corner, across the bridge. Then, they lead her under it. That was 2:30 a.m. She never came out. Her mama knew something was wrong by the time the sun came up. Her mama was panicking. Calling, texting. No answer. She called friends. She walked the block. She called 911. That whole day, nobody heard from Jocelyn. Then came Monday morning, June 17, just before 7 a.m. 2 people were walking near the bayou. You know, that muddy little creek running under the freeway. They saw something. A body. Floating. They called police. Houston police arrived. They pulled her out. No heartbeat. No breath. 12 years old. The world stopped. Who were these men? Police checked the video footage. They saw the men, clear as day, following her, smiling. One had his arm around her at one point. They looked calm, like it was nothing. For almost 2 full days, nobody knew who they were. But someone recognized them. A tip came in, and police picked up both men by Tuesday night. Their names: Frankie Alonzo de Leon, 17 years old, Jose Manuel Luna, 26 years old. They were arrested at a hotel, not far from where Jocelyn was found. They didn't fight, didn't run, just got quiet. When police showed the tape, the crime what they did to her was evil. She was a child. They used her, strangled her, left her alone in the water like trash. And what kills me most? She probably thought they were just being friendly. Maybe she thought they were going to help her get home. She didn't know. She didn't stand a chance. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, 2023, every 40 seconds, a child goes missing in the United States. 40 seconds. By the time I finish this sentence, another child is gone. What happens next? Frankie and Jose were charged with capital murder. That means if they're found guilty, they could spend the rest of their lives in prison. And guess what? Frankie, the one who's 17, he's being tried as an adult. Because when you do something that evil, you don't get to hide behind your age. That Jocelyn's family, her mama, is broken. There's no fixing this. No moving on. Only living with it. She said Jocelyn was her whole world, her light, her laughter. Now all she hears is silence. And the worst part? It all happened in their neighborhood. Their home. That's why we added a real self-defense course, made by law enforcement and martial artists. It's in the description and pinned comment. 1 hour that might save your life. It teaches kids and parents how to escape, speak up, and protect each other. No fluff, no gym, just real tools that might have saved Jocelyn. ***, when the police sat them down, neither of them said a word at first. Frankie just stared at the floor. Jose looked around like he was trying to act normal. But nothing about what they did was normal. They weren't drunk. They weren't high. They weren't confused. They were clear-headed. They knew exactly what they were doing. One of the detectives leaned in and said, "We've got the video." Jose blinked. Frankie looked away, still no words. But then, Frankie cracked. He started talking fast, said they were just walking and talking. Said Jocelyn followed them. Said they didn't mean for anything to happen. Didn't mean? She's 12. Dead. Strangled. And dumped in a creek. That's not a mistake. That's murder. Autopsy came back clear. Strangulation. Signs of sexual assault. Bruises on her arms. Defensive wounds. She fought back. That little girl fought. Even when the odds were terrible. Even when they had hands around her neck. She fought. That's what hurts most. She didn't just give up. She tried. And she still didn't make it home. The community? They were on fire. Posters everywhere. People crying outside the store where she was last seen. A memorial went up by the creek. Stuffed animals. Candles. Letters written in crayon. Little girls. Her age came by holding their mom's hand. They looked at the flowers and asked, why did they hurt her? No one had an answer. Police said one thing that stuck with me. They said Jocelyn was too trusting. Too kind. And these two men? They used that. They saw a young girl walking alone, and they knew she wouldn't fight them at first. They planned it. That's what the video shows. They didn't just bump into her. They stalked her. They followed her. They walked slow, not because they were unsure, but because they had time. No one stopped them. The men didn't have long rap sheets, but they had priors. Frankie had a history of violence. Jose had been questioned before in another case, but nothing ever stuck. Now it was sticking. Because Jocelyn paid the price. At the hotel, police found her shoes, her socks, a receipt from a gas station, even the same clothes the men wore in the video. Evidence was everywhere. They didn't even try to cover their tracks. Like they didn't care. Like they didn't believe anyone would fight for her. They were wrong. Her mama, she stood outside the courthouse with a photo of Jocelyn, holding it up like a shield. She said, "My daughter wasn't trash. She wasn't nothing. She was love. And they took that from me." Then she started to cry. The kind of cry that comes from the gut. You don't forget that sound. And people listened. Folks started posting about Jocelyn online. It went viral. Not because people love sad stories, but because we all saw our own kids in her. She looked like every niece, daughter, baby cousin. Just trying to get through summer break. Just walking. And these men saw her as easy prey. It broke the city open. Houston isn't small. But Jocelyn's death made it feel small. Too close. Too real. People said, if it could happen to her, it could happen to my child too. And that's the truth. You know what else is true? Most child victims know their attacker. According to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, 2023, 80% of abuse cases involve someone the child already knows. Let that sink in. It's not just the strangers you gotta watch. It's the ones who act friendly. The ones who say, just come walk with us. That's why this story hurts so bad. Because Jocelyn probably didn't think she was in danger. Not until it was too late. They didn't find her right away because the creek isn't lit. No cameras. No patrols. She was found by chance. 2 people walking early in the morning saw her. If they had been 10 minutes later, she could have been gone with the tide. Her body could have floated further. And maybe no one would ever know what happened. That's the scariest part. How close this came to being a mystery with no answered how'd police catch them? One small thing, that a worker at the Family Dollar saw the video on the news and said, I saw those 2 guys outside Sunday night. He gave a tip. Police traced the location, found a hotel that matched, then boom, got him. That's all it took. One person paying attention. One moment of cared. If that's how justice started. We don't know if they'll go to trial. They might take a plea deal, might try to say it wasn't planned, might try to blame each other, but none of it matters. Because Jocelyn's still gone, and no courtroom can bring her back. What we can do? We can learn that we can teach our kids. Not to be scared, but to be smart. To trust their gut. To say no when something feels off, to run, to scream, to know that it's okay to ask for help. That's why we linked a family safety course in the video description and first pinned comment that IT was made by experts, real police, and martial artists. And it's not about fighting. It's about surviving. It shows parents and kids how to spot danger early, how to escape safely, and what to do before something bad happens. Just 1 hour could save a life. Could have saved Jocelyn. Asterisk, asterisk, let's talk about Frankie for a second. 17. Still a kid. On paper. But a killer in real life. You don't get to strangle a little girl and say, "But I'm just a teenager." You don't get to dump her body in a creek and act like it's all a mistake. He wasn't some lost boy. He made choices. And every step he took that night, it was on purpose that he followed her. He touched her. He helped end her life, and now? He's being tried as an adult. The judge looked at the evidence. Looked at the video. He said, "This was not random. This was evil." You don't hear that often in court. Evil. But that's what it was. Now here's something that broke my heart. The last time Jocelyn's mama heard from her was a text message, a simple message. One word. She wrote, "Okay." That was it. That was her final word. She probably meant, "Okay, I'll be home soon." Or, "Okay, I'm good." But she wasn't. Imagine that. You wake up. You check your phone. And the last thing your baby girl ever said to you was, "Okay." And then she's gone. That's the kind of pain you don't come back from. That's the kind of pain that keeps you up for the rest of your life. Let's not forget Jose Luna, either. 26 years old. Old enough to know better. He's the one in the video walking closest to her. Laughing, talking, looking relaxed, like he'd done this before. He had no job, no steady place to stay, just bouncing around from place to place. People said he was off, had a weird vibe, never looked you in the eye, and now we know why. When they arrested him, he asked for a lawyer right away. Didn't say a word. Didn't even ask about Jocelyn. Just sat there. Not a tear. Not a what happened. Nothing. That's cold. That's not shock. That's guilt. One thing I keep thinking about is how close she was to getting away. She was 5 minutes from home. If she'd turned 1 block earlier, if someone had been outside smoking, if just one car had stopped, she might have lived up. That's how thin the line is between life and death. Just a few steps. People think stuff like this happens far away, in bad neighborhoods, in big cities, to kids who were already in trouble. But Jocelyn wasn't like that. She was loved. She was doing fine. She wasn't skipping school. She wasn't sneaking out all the time. She was just being a kid. But that's the problem, ain't it? The world doesn't care if you're a good kid or not. It only takes one bad person and one quiet street, and your whole life is gone. Her school held a candlelight vigil. Kids came wearing her favorite color, pink. Some of them cried. Some of them just stood there quiet. One little girl brought a letter she wrote for Jocelyn. It said, "I wish I could have helped you. I miss you and I never met you." You ever seen a 9-year-old write something like that? That's how deep this went. Even the kids felt it. Felt the loss. The city council got involved. They pushed for more lights under bridges, more patrols in high-risk areas, and better tracking of people with violent records. But that don't change what happened. Jocelyn's gone. You know what else people forget? That these stories don't end when the news cameras leave. Her mama still wakes up crying, still walks past her daughter's room, still checks her phone like maybe there's one more message. There isn't. That pain? It's forever. You want to know the worst part? This kind of thing keeps happening. Different names, different cities, same evil. Girls getting tricked, getting followed, getting hurt. That's why we gotta tell these stories. Not to scare folks, but so we don't look away anymore. Jocelyn's case made national headlines. But it shouldn't take a tragedy to wake us up. You see a kid walking alone? You stop and check. You see something off at a store? You speak up. You hear someone being weird or creepy with kids. You report it. We gotta stop thinking, "It's not my business." Because if we don't, one day it will be. You know what I wish? I wish Jocelyn had that one person nearby. That one adult who said, "Hey, are you okay? You need help getting home." Sometimes that's all it takes. Just one voice, one check-in, one stranger paying attention. But she didn't get that. And now she's a name on a news report, a picture on a poster, a case file. But to her mama, she'll always be more than that. She'll always be the girl who danced in the living room, the girl who laughed with her mouth wide open, the girl who loved cats and blue tackist. That's who Jocelyn really was. Not what those men did to her, but what she brought to this world before they ever touched her. Asterisk, asterisk, you ever see a whole city go quiet? Houston's a loud place. Trucks, buses, folks shouting, music playing. But the day they buried Jocelyn, it felt like the whole world paused. Kids lined the sidewalk near her school. Some held pink balloons. Others held flowers. Some just stood there, holding their mom's hand. You could feel it in the air, that heavy silence, like everybody was asking the same thing. Why her? Her funeral was packed. Too many people for the small church. Neighbors came. Strangers came. Even folks who never met her showed up. Her mama sat in the front row, holding Jocelyn's favorite stuffed animal. It was a white bear with a blue bow. They placed it in her casket, right next to her heart. And the casket? It was small. Too small, because she was just a little girl. And that casket said it all, that this never should have happened. The pastor tried to speak. Said words about peace, about heaven. But nobody was really listening. They were thinking about that video. Those last moments. The way she was led under that bridge. The way no one stopped it. And her mama? She didn't cry at first. She just sat frozen, eyes open, hands clenched, like she was holding back the flood inside her. Then the music started. A soft piano. And that's when it broke her. She let out a cry that filled the whole room. You ever heard a mother cry like that? It ain't like movie crying. It's deeper, wilder, like her soul's tearing apart, and people just sat with it. They didn't try to stop her. They couldn't. She had every right to scream. After the funeral, folks gathered outside. Someone passed out flyers with Jocelyn's face. Big letters said, "Never forget her name." Some kids drew hearts on the sidewalk with chalk. Wrote things like, "Fly high, Jocelyn. You mattered." One little boy asked, "Is she with the angels now?" His mama just nodded. Couldn't say anything more. In the weeks that followed, the police stayed quiet. They didn't give much info. Said it was an active case. Said more evidence was still coming in, but we knew. The video was enough. The hotel evidence. The clothes. That was the story. And it was already too much. People started asking bigger questions. Why was she out so late? Why didn't anyone stop the men? Where were the cameras under that bridge? All fair questions. But the truth is, sometimes we don't see danger until it's too late. And even when we do, we're scared to speak up. Scared we'll be wrong. Scared we'll offend someone. Scared we'll get involved in something messy. But you know what's messy? Finding a 12-year-old girl in a creek. That's what happens when we stay silent. It ain't about blame. It's about change, because we can't bring Jocelyn back. But we can protect the next one. We can teach our kids how to spot lies, how to trust their gut, how to say no and mean it. And we can teach ourselves to listen. A woman at the vigil said something real. She said, "From now on, I'm that nosy neighbor. If I see a kid walking with someone who looks wrong, I'm asking questions." And everybody nodded. Because that's what it takes. Point one voice. One nosy neighbor. One person who gives a damn. The bridge where it happened? It's still there. Cars still drive over it. But now there's a mural on the wall under it shows Jocelyn with angel wings. Pink background. Big smile. Flowers growing out of the concrete. People stop and cry when they see it. Some leave candles. Others leave letters. It's a reminder of her and of what we lost. Frankie and Jose are still in jail. No trial date yet. Their lawyers are quiet. Probably trying to cut a deal, but no deal will ever be good enough. You can't trade time for a life, especially not hers. And Jocelyn's mama? She wakes up every day to a house that's too quiet. She keeps Jocelyn's room just the way it was, the posters, the drawings, the notebook with half a poem written inside. She said she reads it every night. Says it helps her feel close to her baby. The world keeps moving. People go back to work, back to school. But for Jocelyn's family, time froze. They're stuck in that week. That phone call, that creak. And what kills me most is that Jocelyn never got to grow up, never got to finish middle school, never got her first crush, her first dance, her first anything, all of it gone in one night. Because two grown men saw her as an easy target. She deserved more. She deserved everything. And now, all we got is her story. So we better tell it right. We better shout her name, not whisper it, because Jocelyn Nungaray should be here today, smiling, living, laughing, and instead, we're lighting candles for her. The sad thing about a story like this, it don't end. Not really. You think it's over when they catch the killers, or when the funeral ends. or when the news stops talking, but the pain keeps going. Like a bad echo that never stops. Jocelyn's Mama, she said sometimes she still makes 2 plates for dinner. One for her, one for Jocelyn. Then she looks at the empty seat and remembers. Her baby's not coming back. She sleeps with Jocelyn's blanket now. The one with cats on it. She keeps it right up against her chest, like maybe the love is still inside it. They say grief comes in waves. But this ain't a wave. It's a storm that never lets up. She don't need sympathy. She needs justice and peace. But in this world, you don't always get both. 1 month after Jocelyn died, the city held a march in her name. It wasn't huge. Maybe 200 people. But every person there held a candle. And the sign said, "Protect our daughters. No more lost girls." Jocelyn deserved better. You could feel the fire in the air. People are tired. Tired of kids being hurt. Tired of being scared. Tired of stories like this happening again and again and again. And in that crowd were girls who looked just like Jocelyn, wearing backpacks, braids, bubblegum in their mouths. They don't know how close this danger is. But their parents do. They were holding those girls a little tighter that night. One mama said, "I used to let my daughter walk to school alone. Not anymore." Another mama said, "I tell my child now, don't go anywhere without looking around. Don't trust no one. It ain't fair. Kids shouldn't have to live like that. But this world, it don't give you fair. It gives you real." People started donating to Jocelyn's family. For the funeral, for bills, for therapy, and her. Mama said she wants to use some of that money to start a program, something for kids, to teach them how to stay safe, how to speak up, how to get away from people like Frankie and Jose. She wants to name it after her daughter. Call it Jocelyn's voice. Because even though Jocelyn is gone, her voice still matters. And you know what? That might be the only good thing to come from this. That Jocelyn's story might save somebody else. Maybe a kid hears it and says, "No, I'm not going with you." Maybe a parent watches this and finally talks to their child. Maybe someone trusts their gut and stops a tragedy before it happens. We'll never know. But we hope. Frankie and Jose, they're still locked up. Every few weeks, they go to court for some paperwork. But no trial yet. Not for a while. They sit in jail, wearing orange jumpsuits, eating food that tastes like cardboard, and waiting. But Jocelyn's family? They don't get to wait. They're already living the life sentence. You know what nobody talks about? The other kids. Jocelyn's friends. Her classmates. They saw it on the news. Heard the whispers in the hallway. Some of them had nightmares. Some couldn't sleep. One girl told her teacher, "I'm scared to walk home now." This story didn't just break one family. It broke a whole community. And the police? They're still trying to piece it all together. Still trying to answer the why. But maybe there ain't no good answer. Maybe sometimes evil is just evil. Maybe some people don't need a reason to do bad things. They just do them. That's why we can't wait for the world to protect us. We gotta protect each other. Protect our kids. Teach them what to look out for. Teach them to run. To scream. To trust their gut. That it's not about making them afraid. It's about making them prepared. And that's why this channel added a real self-defense course in the video description and pinned comment. It was made by law enforcement and martial arts experts. Simple. Easy to follow. No fluff. Just real stuff that might save a life. You can watch it in your living room. With your kid. With your niece. With your friend. Because the next Jocelyn? She might be out there right now. And maybe this time, we can stop it. **** a few weeks after the arrest, Jocelyn's story hit national TV. The big stations finally picked it up. Photos of her smiling in pink. Footage of the search. And the mugshots of Frankie and Jose. Cold as stone. And suddenly, everyone had an opinion. People online saying, she shouldn't have been out that late. Where were her parents? What was she doing walking alone? But let me say this clear, none of that matters. None of that justifies murder. None of that explains 2 grown men strangling a child. She could have been out at noon. She could have been 1 block away. It doesn't matter. The only question we should ask is, why did they do it? Jocelyn didn't cause this. She didn't ask for it. She didn't put herself in danger. She was a child, 12, still had baby teeth, still slept with the light on sometimes, still learning the world, and they saw that, and they took advantage of it. Now here's something you might not know. A neighbor near the bridge. She told police she heard something that night. Said she thought she heard a scream. But by the time she went to her window, It was quiet again. She didn't call. She didn't check. And now? She can't sleep. She said, "Every night I wonder, if I had just looked harder, maybe Jocelyn would still be here." That's the kind of regret you carry forever. It's not her fault either. But it shows you how close we all are to changing the story. Point one phone call, one porch light, one step outside. That's how fragile life is. And now, the legal process moves slow. Real slow. It's court date after court date. Evidence checks, DNA tests, psych evaluations. They're trying to figure out if these men knew what they were doing. Come on. You watch the video, you know they did. They weren't stumbling. They weren't confused. They were hunting. That's what it was. A hunt. And Jocelyn was the prey. They won't say much in court. Their lawyers tell them to stay quiet. Let the process work. But her mama? She speaks. Every time. She reads letters. To Jocelyn in court. She looks those men in the eyes and lets them know, "You took everything from me, but I will never stop saying her name." And the judge listens. The jury listens. The whole room goes still when she speaks. Because grief, like that, it doesn't whisper. It roars. Let's talk about how the case changed the city. After Jocelyn died, city leaders promised action. They installed lights under the bridge. They put up cameras. They increased patrols in the area, but it took a child dying to make them do it. That's the part that burns. We always fix things after the tragedy, not before. They also started a safe route home project, a hotline kids can call if they feel unsafe walking. A team that can come get them, no questions asked. That's good. It's something, but it should have already been there. We can't wait for another Jocelyn to build things we should have had all along. Her school? They brought in counselors, held safety assemblies, gave kids a space to talk. Point one teacher said, "I've never seen my students this scared." But you know what? Fear ain't all bad. Fear wakes you up, makes you pay attention, makes you act. It's what you do with that fear that matters. And let's talk real for a minute. You see Jocelyn's face. You feel it. You feel that lump in your throat, that ache in your chest, because this wasn't some far-off story. This could be your street, your daughter, your baby cousin. And that's what keeps folks up at night. The fact that it was so normal, so random, so close. This world moves fast. New news every day, new tragedy, new face. But let's not let Jocelyn be forgotten. Let's not scroll past her. Say her name. Light a candle. Tell her story, not because it's sad, but because it's true. And true stories, they're what wake us up. Jocelyn Nungaray. She was 12. She loved animals. She liked tacos and cartoons. She danced in the hallway and left socks all over the house. She was real. She was here. And she mattered. That's what this is about. So now we're here, at the end of the story. But not really, because for Jocelyn's family, there ain't no ending. There's no final page. No happy after. Just the same day, played over and over in their heads. They still see her sitting at the table, laughing over cereal. Still hear her music playing through the bedroom wall. Still wait for the door to open. Even though it never will. That's the kind of loss you don't get over. You just carry it. Like a heavy coat in the summer. Her mama said one thing that stuck with me. She said, they didn't just kill her. They killed a future. No graduation. No wedding. No kids of her own. All gone. In one night. By two men who don't even deserve to be remembered. But Jocelyn? She deserves to be remembered forever. She should be more than a headline. More than a case number. More than a video shared too late. She should be a warning. A spark. A lesson. And maybe, just maybe, a reason this don't happen again. That's why we tell her story. Not for clicks. Not for drama. But because it's real. And it could happen to any of us. Your daughter. Your sister. Your friend. Jocelyn's name should be in your heart now. Because she didn't deserve what happened. And she didn't die because of anything she did. She died because two people made a choice. And no one stopped them in time. But now, we can be that voice. That stop sign. That help that we can make the next kid feel safe. Make the next family feel seen. Make sure no more stories end this way. So what do we do now? We stay alert. We talk to our kids. We trust our gut. We act when something feels wrong. Because silence is what they count on. Silence is the killer's best friend. And we're not doing that anymore. If Jocelyn's story shook something loose in you, good. Let it make you pay attention. Let it make you speak up. Let it make you stronger. Because the next kid in trouble might need you. And maybe you're the reason they make it home. Point one last time. We linked a real self-defense course in the description and pinned comment. It's short, simple, and made for real people. It teaches how to spot danger, stay calm, and survive that no fluff. No gimmicks. Just the stuff that matters when seconds count, because Jocelyn didn't get that chance. But maybe someone else still can. Today, her mural still stands. Her photo still hangs in her mother's hallway. And her name still gets whispered in prayers, not just in Houston, but across the country, because she mattered, and we won't forget.